Hi, and welcome. You're listening to the X22 Report. My name is Dave, and this is episode 831A, and today's date is December 1st, 2015, and the title of the episode is BRICS Banks Will Begin Borrowing in Yuan to Bypass the Dollar. Now, before I get started, I just want to make an announcement. Tomorrow, which is going to be Wednesday, I'll be uploading an interview with Jim Fetzer. He wrote the book, Nobody Died at Sandy Hook, then it was banned from Amazon. We talk about Sandy Hook, we talk about gun control, and we talk about why his book was banned. If you're on the X22 Report email alert system, I will send you an email. If you signed up to the X22 Report Spotlight YouTube channel, YouTube should send you an email. If not, you can come right to YouTube, type in X22 Report Spotlight, bring you right to the video, or you can come over to the x22report.com site, scroll down a little bit, look over to your right, you'll see the video there, or you can go to newssentinel.com. You will see the video posted on that site. Let's get right into the economic collapse financial news. We're going to head out to Greece right now and talk about what's going on there. And we've talked about Greece for quite a bit throughout 2015, especially when we saw the Syriza party get elected. We thought they were going to do the right thing, but basically they did the wrong thing, as usual, and the central bankers got their way and put the country into debt, further into debt, actually. And now the central bankers are looting the country. The government is selling off bits and pieces of the country, and we know come 2016, Greece is eligible for bail-ins. And we understand at this point, this is exactly what they're going to do. Now, will it happen on January 1st? Most likely not. But throughout the year, going into February, March, we will most likely see this. But what's very interesting at this point, and when you look at it, you think this is some type of satire, you think it's a joke, but this is actually serious right now. Greek taxpayers are going to be forced to declare all cash under the mattress, including inside boxes containing more than 15,000 euros, as well as your jewelry and precious stones, including gold worth over 30,000 euros. When is this going to start? In 2016. So this is the first step toward a full-blown asset confiscation. And we've seen governments do this many, many times before. And we can see what's happening right now. The central bank has full control of this country. They want everything. We saw this happen in the Depression in the United States, where they came and they took the gold. And of course, they paid you for it. But what they did was they gave you paper and ink, and they took the real hard asset. And this is what's happening right now. They're going house to house, and they're looking for the hard assets. And this whole thing is a decision that's issued by the Ministry of Justice and Finance, because they need to bring in revenue into the country, into the government, because their entire system there, even though they got the bailout, it's not going to the people. It's not going to government programs. It's going to the creditors. And as time goes on, the country is sinking deeper and deeper into a collapse. I mean, it's already there. It's just getting a lot worse. Now, of course, the corporate media and other governments are saying that everything is fine there. Look the other way. But the country is being looted. The people are being looted. And come 2016, they're going to confiscate their assets, and they're going to go into the banks because they'll have no other choice, because they just don't have enough revenue coming in. They cannot pay these interest payments, and it's getting worse and worse. I mean, they couldn't pay the interest payments before they got the bailout. What makes everyone think they're going to be able to pay the interest now that they have more debt? They just can't. Now, in Canada, we see the GDP now is plunging. It dropped by 0.5%. It's the largest month-on-month drop since March of 2009. It's the biggest miss since 2008 of December. And we see the housing bubble is popping in Canada. We see Canada now is sliding into recession. It will be heading into depression, just like every single other country. Puerto Rico, we understand, is going to default. Now, they did something very tricky here. Governor Alejandro Garcia Padilla signed an executive order to permit the redirection of revenue, which was budgeted for highway and convention center bonds, and they used that to pay for the debt. Now, we know this is not sustainable. We know they can't keep doing this. And we know eventually what's going to happen is Puerto Rico is just going to default. And of course, we know Obama is coming up with some new laws that they're just creating out of thin air because they need to do this to stop the default of Puerto Rico. Now, of course, they don't do this for the everyday person, but to keep the system alive, this is what they will do. They will continually prop up all different areas in the United States if propping up is needed. They will also prop up the entire economy. They will manipulate the statistical information of the economy just to show that everything is okay here in the United States. But everything is not okay. We've been watching all the economic indicators. We've been looking at the real information, not the statistical stuff the government puts out and then manipulates. We've been looking at what's really been going on. Now, sometimes we're a little bit ahead of what's really happening here because we're looking at things every single day. And a lot of times when we see, like housing, for instance, Case-Shiller, the National Association of Realtors, they're just catching up to what we're reporting right now. Now, when we saw housing prices starting to level off and start to come down, Case-Shiller, the National Association of Realtors, are saying that everything is fine. Housing prices are still continually rising. But then all of a sudden we see a turn, and this was like 4 or 5 months later. Well, we're seeing the same thing happen right now because when we look at the housing market, we're seeing they're doing the same exact thing as they did in 2008. Now, we understand that everyone's saying, oh, housing prices are up there. And when the housing prices are up there, everything they're doing is fine. Of course, when housing prices drop or interest rates rise, it all falls apart. And you can see why they need to keep pumping the housing prices up, but that's getting harder and harder. So when home prices drop and mortgage payments become a challenge for whatever reason, maybe layoffs, miscalculation from the get-go, nothing stops the underwater subprime borrower from not making any more payments. And they stop making payments. We see foreclosures. We see short sales. And this is what's going to happen because we're seeing the same thing occur that happened in 2008. Among the hottest products right now in the non-bank lenders now offer are the following. AmeriHomes. Basically, they have a wider array of non-agency programs, including adjustable rate mortgages, non-agency 5-to-1 hybrid ARMs with interest-only options, Alt-QM mortgages for alternative to qualified mortgages. So as home prices stay where they are, they're starting to level off and fall right now, but they're still pretty high, everything is fine. When home prices start to fall and interest rates rise, all of these different types of mortgages fall apart. And this is what we saw in 2008. This is when we saw people leave their homes because they had the adjustable rate mortgages. The interest rates were going up. They couldn't lock in. And they couldn't make the payments. If they stayed with the ARMs and they were making interest-only payments, those were rising. And guess what? They couldn't afford it. We are seeing the same thing happen right now. And we're going to see the same subprime crisis that we once saw. Now, U.S. manufacturing in the United States, the PMI, has now fallen in November to 52.8 from October's bounce of 54. So that has dropped. This is the weakest PMI print since October of 2013. And the ISM manufacturing tumbled to its lowest since December of 2012. 30 regions have reported PMI so far, with 15 seeing a weakness right now. We now understand the Baltic Dry Index is hovering around 580 so points right now. It's moved up a little bit, but this is very, very low for this time of the year. And the ISM manufacturing fell below 50 for the first time since November of 2012, crashing to 48.6. This is the weakest since June of 2009, during the Great Recession. Now, the last time we saw this happen was in early of 2008. And after that, the Fed unleashed QE1, QE2, and so on to help the economy, which it really didn't. Basically, all it did was inflate bubbles, create an illusion, and it made it a central bank economy. The people are sitting on the sidelines right now. We see that new orders are collapsing completely. So new orders are collapsing. The Baltic Dry Index is down. Manufacturing's down. They're doing the same thing that they did back in 2008 with mortgages for real estate. We see housing prices stalling. We see them coming down. Canada, their GDP falling. And now the Atlanta Fed came out and said, okay, the fourth quarter GDP, we know we were at 2.3%. We're going to have to drop this. We're coming down to 1.8% now because of what is happening in the economy. And this tells us that the economy is basically falling apart and losing steam. We've been in this collapse situation for quite a while, and the illusionary statistical numbers that the government continually tries to push on everyone, they're not holding anymore. The real economy is rearing its ugly head and shattering these statistical numbers, which don't make any sense whatsoever. Now, everyone is getting very nervous because the economy is slipping away. And we're seeing that the U.S. Mint now, their sales of American Eagle coins have surged in November, with gold nearly tripling month over month and silver already reaching a new annual record as bullion prices fell to multi-year lows. The Mint sold around 97,000 ounces of American Eagle coins in November, up 185%. And we see that silver is also selling like crazy because people realize, what should I hold? Paper and ink, which is going to be worth absolutely nothing, or a hard asset? Why do you think the Greek government is coming in and taking gold, silver, precious jewels? Because that's what's worth something. Yes, they're taking currency, but if you notice, they really want the precious metals. That's what they're after. Now, we understand that Saudi Arabia is continually pumping out gas, oil, to fulfill the agenda of the United States, to try to bring down the economy of Russia, to help the businesses here in the United States, to make sure that people have extra money so they can go out and spend it on the Christmas season and to spend it in retail. Well, all this has not been working, and right now the Saudi bank deposits have seen the biggest drop in 25 years. We understand right now that China, their Yuan, is going to be included in the SDR. The IMF approved it for October 1st, 2016, and the BRIC Bank has decided they are going to begin borrowing in Yuan. So they're going to bypass the dollar completely, and everything will be Yuan denominated. And this is where they're going to loan the money out, which means that the dollar is not included in any of this. So all the emerging countries will be taking on the Yuan. And we understand this makes the United States government central bankers very nervous. They tried to block this many, many times. And now we see the U.S. is saying, listen, and this is coming from Treasury Secretary Jacob Lew, the U.S. intends to ensure the dollar stays the world's leading reserve currency. We determine to run a U.S. economy that continues to be strong, safe, and secure, an economy that makes the case in the future. Well, the question is, how are they going to make sure the dollar stays the world leading reserve currency? By crossing their fingers? Especially when the debt has run up so high, when other countries are removing the dollar from the reserves, when they're losing control in the Middle East and the countries there, the people there are taking back their countries and they're going to sell the natural resources not using the dollar, this is going to be very, very tough. So we know how they're going to approach this. We know what is coming. The collapse is coming. War is coming. Listen, everyone, thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared. Thanks a lot.